I think that the job of a recruiter these days, or a recruitment agency in general, it's a lot tougher than what it used to be. You know, you had brick building and you had your sign on that and everyone had one everywhere that they worked. But now we've got the luxury of being digital. So, you know, everything can be found online. So never has there been a more important time that recruiters start being marketers, not only for their brands, but also for themselves independently, to be seen as that thought leader in the space. But when you look at recruiters, not only need to be marketers, they also need to be technologists.
Welcome to the Tech Savvy Recruiter, the podcast for recruitment and staffing agency owners keen to explore the tech innovations reshaping our industry. I'm Andrew Roger from recMate.
And I'm Belinda Kerr from Recruitment Garage, and together we're your hosts, bringing you a stellar lineup of tech experts ready to help you understand and, more importantly, benefit from the increasing array of tech available to you today.
Well, welcome to this edition of the Tech Savvy Recruiter. Thank you for joining us today. Today we are very fortunate to have the one and only Nicole Clarke with us. Singer, dancer, entertainer, and most importantly, a tech-savvy entrepreneur. Nicole's co-founder of Shazamme, a website development company, plus all things marketing guru. So today we're really lucky to have some insight discussions with Nicole about what makes marketing tick and really what you should be looking for when you're thinking about marketing and recruitment. So I've just done a little intro, but Nicole, over to you. Just tell us all what you do and who you are and where you've come from.
Oh, thank you, Andrew, and really excited to be on the show with you both. So born and bred sales. I have been helping recruiters now for close to 15 years be more successful online using technology to make that happen, and a lot of that has to do with marketing. I have a passion for stopping recruitment agencies wasting money and actually using great tech to power their businesses more smartly, if that's a word, because there's so many missed opportunities out there. And, everyone needs to know what they should be doing now to get ahead in this game, because it's highly competitive, as we know. And if you do things right, there's lots of opportunities that open up, and they don't have to cost very much as well. So that's my passion. Live in Melbourne. I have a daughter and a dog, and I'm very busy and, love what I do.
Yeah, you make a really good point there, Nicole, don't you, that it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. And I think that's a big fear for people. They think it does, but if you're smart about it, doesn't have to.
Not at all.
Definitely a big proponent of the work hard but be much smarter at that work as well. So the topic of the session is recruitment is marketing, the tech must-haves and what you need to track now. So before we get into the detail, from your perspective, Nicole, what does that term recruitment is marketing mean for you and your customers, and how is this approach differing from, I guess, your traditional recruitment perspective?
I think that the job of a recruiter these days, or a recruitment agency in general, it's a lot tougher than what it used to be. You know, you had brick building and you had your sign on that and everyone had one everywhere that they worked. But now we've got the luxury of being digital. So, everything can be found online. So never has there been a more important time that recruiters start being marketers, not only for their brands, but also for themselves independently, to be seen as that thought leader in the space. But when you look at recruiters, not only need to be marketers, they also need to be technologists. So there's a lot of work, and you guys know this extremely well. It's a quagmire out there, and trying to understand what you should be doing can be very confusing and quite off-putting, really. So people just stay status quo, what they've been doing for the last 10 years, and then they miss out on opportunities, or they bumble along and unfortunately make very expensive mistakes, not only monetary-wise but time-wise. So, for me, recruitment is marketing, and people need to embrace how do we use technology for smart marketing? How do we become better marketers? And there's so many things they can be doing.
Yeah, and we know now too that, in not so long ago, that about 70% of our results were directly attributable to sales, but now that's flipped and it's marketing. So we need to be, even though if we're not marketers, and you don't have to be a marketer to do what you need to do. You just need to be smart about finding out what you need to be doing and doing it. I think sometimes people use marketing agencies, so the smaller businesses use marketing agencies too soon. But there is a lot that we can do with the help of people like yourself. So that's cool. When it comes to tech, Nicole, what do you think sort of forms the basic suite for when it comes to marketing, getting your candidates and clients? What do you say to people around what they really should be having in their tech stack?
Yeah, so tech stack's one piece of the puzzle. As we know, I still know people that are running successful businesses off spreadsheets, shock horror.
Yeah.
I think really what they need is to build a solid foundation for their brand online. So I'm biased, obviously. We specialize in recruitment website technology. But if you don't have that component properly structured so that you can be found in the first place for the things you want to be found for, and when people find you, where it does get important, if you can't track where they're coming from, what they're doing when they get to your brand and what your conversion rates are, you're missing a massive opportunity and you're more than likely wasting money. So you need a solid digital foundation. You need obviously your presence on LinkedIn and potentially other social marketing platforms. But it really comes down to building that solid foundation, your brand online, your website. The integrations are key, as you know, Andrew, obviously you're very passionate about that one. But as part of the marketing and the technology piece, your ATS should integrate with your website like it's one. And all your other subsidiary technologies that you might choose after that, they also need to integrate like they're one. And those partners need to work together to progress those integrations so that we can keep ahead of the curve without the recruiter needing to worry about it, just knowing that their tech stack is going to keep evolving with them and give them the best of breed to keep them cutting edge without them having to spend a fortune or miss opportunities. So ATS is so important. We're seeing a lot of great conversions from chat, being able to put chatbots on your website so that an individual recruiter that might be running a campaign, as an instance, can chat directly to anyone that's been sent to. Turnaround quickness of responses is key to success in converting a user. And really thinking about that foundation, we need to think about we've got a big job here. We've got 2 audiences, potentially 3. Recruitment agencies need to attract employers, job seekers, and potentially they want to recruit internally. So the messaging needs to be relevant for all of those audiences. And it's challenging, but it actually is quite simple once you break it down to basics. And it's amazing how much more successful it can drive relevant traffic.
I was just going to say, Nicole, you touched on something really interesting that seems to be a upcoming trend, or people are leveraging dramatically, is that sell by chat process there. A lot of companies are seeing some early signs of that being a really positive way to engage with prospects, be it on the candidate front or the client front, or as you said, a potential employee front as well. And tracking that stuff's really traditionally been really tricky, but I guess with the technology stack that is available for us now, we can track those sources. We can track who's been chatting with who. So you've got a pretty clear indication if you're tech savvy to see where your money is best spent. And a lot of people have spent thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars on a quarterly, monthly, sometimes basis. And they're not tracking that stuff very efficiently at all. It's very manual. It's a bit of that kind of thing at the end of the quarter when they're doing their stats, which doesn't have to be that way now, right? I think one of the key things you were just talking around is measuring that stuff. From your experience, how do people, or should people be thinking about effectively tracking and measuring their success of their marketing campaigns, advertising campaigns, whatever they're doing? And what are the key metrics that they should be focused on?
Yeah, so you hit a great point. Most people aren't set up, unfortunately, to understand this stuff. They might have Google Analytics set up, which can give you some insights, but it goes a lot deeper than that. Like, you need to be able to know that you posted a job on Facebook and someone on mobile device came to that job from Facebook mobile. They looked at that job. Normally the tracking is lost there. But what we've effectively done, because it needed to be done, it was desperately needed to be done, is if they then go and they read your website, they look at 3 other jobs, they look at a blog, then they apply, we can actually equate it back to that original click. So you can truly understand where your leads are coming from. And then that data itself from that tracking and capabilities needs to be pushed back into the ATS. So you can then easily report on, well, why are we spending all this money on XYZ platform when all of our actual applications and placements are coming from another platform? So it can allow you to be smart, and it should be built into technology now. And then, of course, you've got your UTM tracking codes. So we're seeing a lot of success with people building landing pages. And I'm doing a webinar coming up pretty soon, actually, around how recruiters can start operating like RPOs and thinking about, landing pages that are co-branded with employers that you're working with, removing the header and the footer so you can brand that employer, because we know that an employer brand is going to get a lot better and higher quality applications directly than they are through a recruitment website. It's just the stats. People like thinking they're applying direct.
It's a validated job, as opposed to, unfortunately, the industry sometimes gets tired with those phishing jobs where you're just, luring people into, to build your database.
Yeah, exactly.
And traditionally that's been quite difficult or quite costly, hasn't it, Nicole, around putting those specific landing pages. I've heard war stories even recently where people will get charged thousands of dollars per landing page to build and maintain, and they'd have to do that every single.
You had something like I know you don't get the SEO, but something like lead pages, you pay like $50 a month and you get beautiful landing pages. It's crazy.
Yeah, so I think there's still that old. Yeah, unfortunately, I still think there's still that old, web developer industry out there, which is fine, but it was fine for 20 years ago. I remember when I was in-house and we spent $40,000 on building a website, okay? And back then, that's what it was. But people are still being charged those dollars for what should be a very efficient, effective and easy process, and very cost-effective as well.
Yeah, we live in the drag and drop world now.
We do live in the drag and drop world, and we've got clients that are bringing their entire websites over onto our platform, and they can build as many landing pages as they want, and it doesn't cost anything extra. And I think people need to also recognize landing pages can be a great opportunity for search engine optimization. So if you're doing any advertising, driving it back to a landing page that either has a form submit, so you can track all of that with UTM tracking codes. There's so many quick wins that cost nothing and take now 10 minutes, if that, to build.
It's interesting. I literally just did a post about this, and I think along with the metrics goes identifying what part. If you look at your user experience and your funnel from one end to the other, often what I find with my guys is that there'll be something broken along the way, whether it's a 404 message on a landing page, or whether it's someone putting a blog up but there's not sending traffic to it. They don't have that full visibility across what the user experience is from their first moment they touch your business to when they become a candidate or client. And I think with the increasing technology, that's becoming more and more important, because there are more points of friction and failure. And whereas you picked up the phone 20 years ago, 10, whatever it was ago, and there weren't so many friction points. So that's why all these sort of pieces of tech and these codes that you're talking about are so important, because you can identify things much faster too, can't you?
You can. And tracking is everything. At the end of the day, no one wants to waste time or money. And if you can nail these things very quickly and easily, and have all that data and tracking capabilities available to you, it's a game changer for any business, no matter if they're a one-man band or they're a large, enterprise organization. Yeah.
So if you're a smaller business, Nicole, what would you say to somebody? Because that conversation I know is quite daunting to smaller businesses. What would you say to them?
I just say, and I work with a lot of people that are in startup or smaller space that are wanting to climb the ladder and compete with the bigger players. You need to bring it back to basics. I think a lot of people overthink what they need to do. There is a recipe to set up a brand successfully, a recruitment brand successfully online with minimal spend to get you going with something that's, think your brand. And I do say bring it back to basics. Any recruitment agency, no matter of the size, needs to think about, where do I make my money? Like, a lot of people don't actually understand, what is that called? What are those industry sectors where I make my money? What are they called? What are people looking for? So that's from both a job seeker stream and an employer stream. And I think it's sitting back and actually having a look. Don't overthink it, but think, if I could be found in the World Wide Web for what it is I do, what would make me money? What are the things that people are searching for? And you need to create content that talks to your audience about that, because the search engines are never going to send someone to you if it doesn't actually state what you do. And a good example is, we get a lot of recruitment agencies that go to traditional marketing companies to help them with their recruitment website. A good example is, a lot of times we'll just see a recruitment agency have engineering on their website. Now, they're not an engineering company, and the whole website has been optimized to be, they do engineering, but they don't. They have engineering jobs and they do engineering recruitment. So two very distinctly different silos. So startups as well as enterprise all the way through need to think about, what do we want to be found for? And it doesn't matter if there's only 50 searches for it a month. If they're finding you and they're converting, you're more than likely making a placement or getting a new job opportunity across your desk. So that was my first thing. And don't be scared of technology. People should be checking out new technology all the time, not necessarily to buy it, but to learn what's now possible.
Keeping across it, yeah.
It might just solve a problem. And really, if you can get the marketing piece, every single person should have job alerts. Like, if your candidates can't sign up for job alerts, it's just 101 basics. You should be saying, hi, Belinda, look, unfortunately you weren't perfect for that role, but we'd love to keep in contact with you. Let's set you up for a job alert. So every time we post a job that's relevant, you get notified. It's one of the best ways to get people coming back to a brand. And also, it's a way to keep in contact with candidates you might have placed that and then looking for another job but may not have come back to you yet. So there's lots of things but keep it simple. Don't overthink it. You should have technology now that's flexible, nimble, so you can duck and weave and move with speed as you evolve.
And I think what you touched on something before earlier in the conversation around partnering with smart companies. So if you surround yourself with companies that are going to help lift you as you're growing as a business, to do a lot of that heavy work for you to keep evolving their platforms. That's everything we always talk around with clients when they're looking at different tech stacks, is to make sure that you're comfortable, you're forming a relationship with this person to help you build your business. Because you can't do everything, particularly as a small business owner, you can't be across everything. You have to be a bit of a jack of all trades across a number of things and then have a very strong vertical in what you do best, right?
That's so important. I think onto that is checking out their support as well, because often that's where things fall over. They get the tech and then they've got no support on the other side of it. And that's where I think it's important to be talking to other users who've used that particular tech and what's their post-purchase support.
Do a bit of ref check, bit of ref checking, right?
Yeah.
So
check out Google reviews, and that's probably advice as well to every recruitment agency. Should be getting people to leave Google reviews. And that should be part of, people's targets, is to get good Google reviews, because that helps your brand be more successful. It's also something we all go to before we purchase a product or a service, is even Airbnb. We read the review, Airbnb
always.
Review. Yeah. And service is so important. You hit the nail on the head with that. Is that you could have the best platform in the world, but if you need support and you can't get it, you're just left in this spinning wheel and never sort of moving forwards.
You're frustrated, and then you're like, oh, why did I buy that? And then you're wasting time looking around for something else. Nicole, have you got some examples of companies that have integrated marketing strategies well, and what the outcomes were?
Yeah, so there's lots, and it sort of does all base around what we've just spoken about. As we go through different economic times, as you guys would both be more than well aware, 1 minute we're looking for candidates and, we'll pay anything for them. And then the next minute it's changed again. And now we're back trying to get employers finding us and engaging with our brand. So I've seen lots of different marketing strategies deployed in the recent times. to tackle both of those things, and it depends on your industry, as we know. But, you can't underestimate the power of the landing pages where you're building it for a succinct purpose. So let's say we need forklift drivers in a warehouse environment, and you create a page called Warehouse Driving Jobs, and on there you potentially have the employer, or you just have a blurb about, forklift driving jobs, and then all the jobs are on there that you want people to apply for or a form submit. You don't have to spend much money on paper advertising to have a click send a forklift driver directly back to that page to then apply or inquire about an opportunity. I've seen that successfully deployed not only for blue collar roles, but also for high level CEO, CFO roles, where they're creating unique pages very simply and easily to reach out and say, hey, Andrew, I've seen your profile on LinkedIn. You are absolutely perfect for this role I have in Sydney, blah, blah, blah. If you'd like to know more, let me know and I'll send you the secret passcode. Now, you've added an element of exclusivity to this, and that landing page might only ever be shown to 50 people. But Andrew thinks, oh, what's this? This sounds special. I want to have a look at it. So it's about, and then for hiring managers, a lot of what I'm seeing at the moment that our clients can do is they'll actually create a board of available talent. And they'll reach out to hiring managers like that. So be like, Belinda, I've got 10 great CFOs that are potentially up for an opportunity with you. If you'd like to know more, let me know and I'll send you the page that sort of tells you a little bit more about each of them. So now you can use your website tech to twist the conversations to tease in the people you want, utilizing your brand. So I had a company in the UK created, and this is about landing pages. I just love them because the conversions are amazing. They wanted to do something to attract employers to use them again that they hadn't engaged with in the last 3 to 6 months. So it was around Easter. So they got together, I think it was about 50 Easter hampers, and on them they just tied a QR code, nothing else. And they sent it out to these employers. And when they got them, of course, the first thing is who's this from? And they scanned the QR code. Yeah. And that then took them to a landing page that said, we miss you. We've got great talent ready to go. Another one, someone put a spinning wheel that employers could spin it and get a discount off their next hire. So using landing pages, but tracking it all to see where your conversions are coming from is really important. So that's just some of the things, but yeah, the foundational things to see the difference. Someone wanting to recruit a warehousing people in a particular location created just a page on their website called, we'll call it Forklift Driver Jobs Goondiwindi. And this was actually in Leeds in the UK where it was actually done. But to see the traffic that actually found that landing page and converted into quality applications and placements. It's
Great.
Exciting to see the conversions.
And that's not an expensive execution.
No, anyone can do it.
Yeah, and particularly with the right tech stack, right? So, if you've got the right tech stack behind you, you can build your custom page, use automation to push it out to your target market from your database, track all of that stuff, give them friendly reminder nudges if they do nothing with that click. And that's all working whilst you're doing your usual day-to-day stuff behind the scenes.
Exactly.
So that whole ecosystem you were talking around before and partnering with the right technologists that can lift your brand, drive your business and help you succeed is just becoming ever more essential, but also really accessible as well. So I don't want anybody thinking that as a small business owner, you could never afford this stuff, because I can guarantee you can, and you should be really looking into this. As Nicole was saying, you've got to be on top of this stuff as a business owner. One final question before we wrap today, Nicole, is around what the future holds. I'm always looking forward, and as we just mentioned, our listeners should also be looking forward to seeing what's around the corner for trends and technology. What are you seeing? I know you travel. We were talking before we jumped on. I know you travel quite widely, and you've just come back from a few conferences around the globe, and that must give you some good insight around what other countries are doing, particularly the US and the UK market, which tend to be a little bit ahead, and product leaders just due to volumes there, they can try different things that our region in Australia can't. What are the things that you would be keeping your eye on as a recruitment owner in terms of technology and recruitment?
Great question. I think it's going to be that buzzword. It's AI and lots of it. Everything's got AI. So and we're never going to lose the human element of what we do because we're in a people business and people need to remember that. But tools that can help you do your job smarter, faster, more easily, AI's going to do that. I've seen lots of different things across the world, especially around marketing, like really being able to customize and reach out to the highly relevant people where the conversions are guaranteed, basically, as well as, using AI to cut down time for placement, but you must use your existing database. I think there's still a lot of that post and pray going on out in the staffing recruitment industry. I think people, due to AI, are going to start getting a lot more insights into their businesses and be able to tighten things up dramatically, from finding relevant talent within their database to being able to communicate with those people, and also speeding up. I think people need to keep ahead of the curve because we are moving at a rapid rate at the moment. And a lot of that is driven by AI. And if you don't embrace the future trends of this, you are going to stall or stagnate and miss out on a lot of opportunities. So I would just be saying, be keeping an eye on what's going on. Do embrace looking at new technologies. Don't necessarily buy it all because there is a lot of overlap with different things. But it comes back to what you said before, Andrew. It's using. I personally see this as a partnership with anyone that comes on board with our platform, Shazamme. I want them to be more successful because they're using our technology. And a lot of that has then to do with the integrations with the ATSs. And you need to have a solid foundation. I come back to the beginning. You must have a solid foundation with your brand and a great ATS, so your website, your ATS, and then look at all these other cool things you can start adding to your tech stack. But you must be able to report on where your conversions are happening and stop wasting money, please.
Yeah, it sort of breaks my heart every time I have a conversation. And we said earlier, I was chatting with somebody in the last couple of weeks, and they got a quote for, I think it was like 3.5 or 4K to do a co-branded page for an application process for a specific one single job, and they were about to pay it. And I told them I may have directed them to a certain company that you might be involved with, just to bounce off where they should be thinking about spending and investing for their website, plus also the extra functionality that you guys can help with. AI is definitely high on the agenda, or should be for most recruitment owners at the moment. We had a beautiful session with David from Qual AI. So he's got a voice and telephony play where he reaches out through to your existing database, can do screening of ad responses, and it's getting very scarily natural voice, right? So that's leveraging, as you mentioned, not only where you're pulling new talent in, but also what you're sitting on today, that mountain of gold that you just need to do a little bit of sifting and digging through. And the power of AI is just phenomenal. You could have 15,000 conversations at one time. So you could, theoretically, recruiters, might have 150,000, they might have 50,000, they might have 100,000 candidates. That could be all communicated with one-to-one, very specific messaging, really relevant to their history and what they're looking for within a couple of days, and have that all updated. And it's just getting really exciting on that front. But I've really enjoyed today's session. So thanks so much for spending some time with us today. It's been amazing. And I've taken a couple of learnings away. I hope you guys that have been listening and watching have too. Before you go, Nicole, can people get in contact with you?
Definitely go to the website, www.shazamme.com. Shazamme. Also, I'm on LinkedIn, Nicole Clarke. I'll come up. If you're in the APAC region, 0403 882 884. And really happy to bounce any ideas. I can diagnose a recruitment brand and the opportunities in minutes. So always happy to have a chat with no obligation, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really, really encourage you guys to think about that strongly. If your brand needs a little bit of a refresh, your website might be a bit stale, and you're not leveraging that piece, because it is an invaluable part of the recruitment marketing puzzle that you should be on top of. So thanks once again, Nicole. It's been amazing having you on the Tech Savvy Recruiter, and we look forward to catching up with you in person next time I see you. Okay?
Look forward to it. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode of the Tech Savvy Recruiter. If you'd like to stay up to date with the latest recruitment trends and insights, make sure that you remember to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And also, if you'd like to speak to Andrew about turning your tech stack into your secret weapon, or myself around creating an agency that delivers you more money, more meaning, and more freedom, we'd absolutely love to chat. Reach out to us on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for your support. We look forward to seeing you next time.